Hello, everyone. Welcome to our new Catch Up Fun series. This is the second episode with Jane Ritter. This is aimed at those of you teaching young learners, and we'll be starting in a few moments. Before we start and before I introduce Jane, just a few words about the webinar today. You will be able to see Jane and you'll be able to hear Jane. And please feel free to use the chat box. I can see some of you already in the chat box, so hello there. The chat box allows you to interact with everybody, plus us, plus Jane, the speaker. But, an important but here, please remember to change the bottom of the chat box so that it says panelists and attendees. At the moment, I can see you're just talking to the panelists. Okay, so again, just change your setting on your chat box to panelists and attendees. If you click on the drop-down box at the bottom of the chat box. We'll also be coming to Jane at the end of the session for some questions and answers. If you have any questions and answers throughout the session, please put them in the separate Q&A box, which you'll see on your screen. If you put them there, it means we don't lose them. If you put them in the chat, we probably won't find them later because there's a lot more going on in the chat box, of course. The recording of today's webinar, the recording plus your attendance certificate will be sent to everybody next week. So you don't have to do anything, just wait and it will turn up in your email inbox. You'll also be able to find recordings of this webinar and all of the other webinars in the series on our Catch Up Fun site, which is probably where you registered for today's webinar, okay? I've got with me today, I've got my colleague Becky East, who's going to be helping out with me in the chat box with your questions and so on. And I'm very pleased to welcome Jane as this afternoon's presenter. And just to tell you a little bit about Jane, she's an author of the Fun Skills Home Fun booklets and other materials and resources for Cambridge University Press. Jane has been teaching adults and young learners for over 20 years in Italy, where she is now, and Hong Kong. She's a very experienced Cambridge examiner. She's a trainer for Cambridge. She's a CELTA and a Delta tutor. She's a university lecturer, a teacher trainer, a teacher, and she's involved in lots of different teaching development and training and resource projects. And a fun fact about Jane, she loves cake. And she tells me that she often puts a reference to cake in her presentations and her webinars. So my challenge to you today is if you see Jane mentioning cake or talking about cake, then say something in the chat box and see if she notices this. Right, so Jane, I hope you're there. Great.
Sorry.
Okay, I'm going to leave you to it. We'll come back after about 45 minutes to show you a few new things from Cambridge, and then back to you, Jane, for the end questions and answers.
Thank you, Stuart.
Have fun.
Yeah. Thank you, Becky. Welcome, everyone. I can see that a few of you are telling us where you are in the chat. I can see Sumba Island, Indonesia, Mexico. Remember to, when you send messages in the chat, to click on all panelists, not all panelists, all panelists and attendees, so that we can all see where you are from. We've got Chile, I've seen China, I've also seen Italy, which is where I am as well. I'm in Naples. Hello from Turkey. Hello, Turkey, Philippines, Brazil, Armenia, China. I've seen Romania. Okay, wonderful. Thank you. It's amazing to have you all here. So as I said, I'm in Naples, in Italy. Normally we have, hello, Venezuela, Ukraine. We normally have beautiful weather, but today it's absolutely terrible, pouring with rain here. Hello, Eugenia. Okay, a little bit about me. Here are some sentences about my language learning experiences. And one of these sentences, I think Gareth Smith is the winner. He got cake. Congratulations. Thank you, Gareth. One of these sentences is a lie. Which one do you think it is? Put your ideas in the chat. So we're tied between 1 and 3. Remember to write to panelists and attendees so everyone can see the different answers. 3. Cake, Ramona. Oh, well spotted. 1, 2. Okay, I'll put you out of your misery. Number 1 is false. I am dreadful at French. I'm not sure if it was because I learned Italian and French at roughly the same times, but French for me was a disaster. Okay, as you know, today we'll be focusing on self-evaluation, and we'll explore the following: how to encourage self-evaluation with our primary learners, when to include tasks that help them to do this, and why we should encourage them to self-evaluate. We'll look at different stages of our courses and when it might be appropriate to introduce self-evaluation, and I'll give you some ideas and resources to help you do this. Before we do that, I want to just explore a little bit, or explore our beliefs as teachers a little bit. So I'm going to put up some statements, and in the chat, I would like you to write agree or disagree. These are teachers' beliefs about self-evaluation. So take a minute to read and let me know, agree or disagree. Write your ideas in the chat. So we're kind of split between agree and disagree. Agree, disagree, agree, disagree. Okay, it's a 50-50. With confident learners, it can in fact be the opposite. Confidence means that they have a tendency to overperform and perhaps not evaluate as much. In actual fact, it could probably be the opposite of this. The difficulty obviously being that less confident learners self-evaluate, but they're less likely to ask for help, and we need to facilitate this. Another statement, agree or disagree? Okay, so I think we're pretty much in agreement here. Yes, there's a big disagree from no. Disagree. Yes, I mean, for me, we need to guide our learners to use self-evaluation. It's probably more of a more accurate statement. They need our support. We need to give them strategies to evaluate themselves. One more. I think there is a unanimous and another big disagree here. Yes. Okay. All learners can self-evaluate. The difference in age obviously changes how we do it. And if I think back to my not so brilliant language learning career, I wonder if I could have had better results had my teachers asked me to reflect on my learning and really help me to understand why I needed to know things. So, ideas. The first idea, we're going to look at how we actually approach tasks. So, for encouraging self-evaluation, we can think about some of these ideas. Okay, I'm going to talk you through 1, 2, 3, then me, which is an activity that I use with my learners. We're just going to touch briefly on recording instructions. and post-it notes, how they can support learning. Right. Let me go back. 1, 2, 3, then me is an activity, and I will demonstrate it. First, I'm going to show you a task, and I want you to look at it for 1 minute. Think about what do I have to do? Look, read, tick. Okay, you're my students. I give you 1 minute to think. What do I have to do? Look, read, tick. Two, talk to your partner. Obviously, we can't do this because we're in a webinar, but I want you to imagine you're talking to your virtual partner for 2 minutes and you're checking your ideas. So you're asking each other questions. Are you reading? Yeah. What are the words? Okay, 2 minutes to compare. Obviously, this takes time, but slowly training your learners to do this can have benefits. Okay. Ask them to ask each other questions. How many towels? How many things can you see? Help each other with the words. Remind them that it's help. It's not a competition. Okay. 1, 2, 3. I still can't do it. What do you do? Call me. Okay. At 3 is when they need help. Okay. So basically with 1 and 2, we are encouraging them to self-evaluate their ability to do the task. First, I encourage them to be self-reliant, and then I encourage them to be peer or group reliant, working together. And then if they really can't do the task, ask for help. I find that by doing this, I have time for the learners that really need me. And my attention, or they get me and my attention after 3 minutes, because the others have read and checked with their peers. Okay, so it helps. It also helps a lot with classroom management. Okay, alternatives to 1, 2, 3, and me, the teacher, could be to have paper cups. Okay, 3 paper cups on each desk. All right. Well, actually, one inside the other. I'm really sorry, I couldn't get. We're just coming out of lockdown here, and I can't get all the things I need. Have the green cup, the yellow cup, and the red cup. The student puts the cup that they need help for according to how much help they need. Let me say that better. Green cup, I'm fine. I understand what I have to do. I don't need any help. Yellow cup, I'm not really sure about this activity, but I'm looking at it. Red cup, I need help now. I don't understand anything. It's quite useful in a distance classroom to have this, a socially distanced classroom, because you can look at your desks and you can gauge who needs help immediately and who needs help or who can wait. Yeah. Okay, does everybody have their phones with them? Do you have your telephone nearby? Good. Okay, can you unlock your phone and find your camera? Okay, and put your camera over the QR code like this. What can you see? What happens? Okay. A video, a web link, a squirrel, play it. See what happens. Paulina, wow. Using the phone, okay, you can't. You can catch up on this one, yeah. Okay, so what does the video do? It explains, yeah. It gives instructions, yes. It guides the students through the activity. Recorded instructions or recording instructions for students whose reading and writing skills are still developing are really useful. Recordings build independence in task completion, and in the mini trainer booklets, we have Sage the squirrel, who guides students through the tasks, and with guidance from us initially, they would hopefully later on be able to do these independently. Okay, recording, obviously, when you're, rather than reading lengthy instructions, listening to them when you're used to listening and responding is much easier. We don't necessarily need Sage the squirrel to do this. We can record instructions on our phones and send them to our students or email them to students, and that can help learners, particularly those who are struggling a little bit with reading and writing. They can also send us recorded responses. I think COVID-19 has taught us that there are lots of other ways to communicate and share information. Okay. Another way to support the task. Okay. What do we have to do here in this task? What is it? Hi, Melinda. The activity. What's the task? We need to draw. Very good. Yep. And we need to drawing and then speaking. Okay. For some of my learners, they get a bit lost if I put that on the board or I remind them or I say draw, then speak. So I add a little post-it note and I just put it on their desk. It just gives them a little bit of extra support for the task. It means they're not looking up at the board, looking across the room. They've got all the information that they really need on their desks. Okay. Idea 2. Let's think about our approach when we actually do tasks. So let's go back to our beach towel. We've done the task. Students have drawn on their towel. They've spoken to their partner. Do we just move on to the next activity? No. We might, instead of doing that, we might start by asking them if they enjoyed the activity. You may have smiley faces above your board. Students can point to them. Or you could ask them to color faces. You know, did you like the activity? Smiley face. It was all right. I didn't like it. Okay. It's good to get this feedback on tasks so that we know what our learners like doing. We could also include a checklist activity where students then read and reflect on what they've just done. I've got a task for you. What would we have on our checklist for this activity? Yeah, Laura's put, was it easy or difficult? Nice. Very nice, Laura. Any other ideas? I can, yeah, I can do, what can I do? I can draw, yeah. Did you learn a new word? Yeah. Okay, rather than a question though, we need statements, yeah. I can complete the task. Good, Jahad. Can or can't. It's probably we want to be focusing more on what we can do, not what we can't do. Use a point scale. I can use the language. I want to do something similar again. That's lovely, Paulina. Lovely. Yeah, I learned new vocabulary. I completed the task. Great. Yeah. I mean, I can draw beach things and I can talk about beach things with my partner. Can I do it? Tick. Can I do it? Tick. Great. Within fun skills for the very same task, there is a speaking checklist in the book. So students do the activity and not necessarily in the same lesson. At a later date, you can look at the speaking checklist and you can think, I can talk about things, or I talked about things I take to the beach. And then they could reflect on how they did the activity. How was it? Okay, color in 1 star. Great. All 3 stars. Good. 2 stars. It's up to the students. It's up to them. Okay. Is that, I can draw, I can use language. I understood my classmate. That's perfect. Lovely. I know the pronunciation of all the words. Great. There's some really, really lovely ideas in this chat. It's kind of a language portfolio, but we need to keep it simple. It's just doing tasks and then reflecting on how that task went and perhaps what we learned from it. Yeah. Good. Not only are there speaking checklists in fun skills, there are also listening checklists where after listening activities, you can circle the squirrel and count up how many magic squirrels you get, because Sage is a magic squirrel. There's also in the higher levels a reading and writing checklist, which works on the same idea of how many magic squirrels do you get. But we don't have to use a course book with the checklist. We can actually create a checklist of our own. And sometimes it's good to have them so that you can share them with parents. This is my year 1 primary checklist, which I give to the students and I also give to the parents so that they can track and know what their children are learning in class with me. I break it down into 6 areas. So speaking, writing, obviously very, very limited in grade 1, listening, reading, strategies, and language quality. I also give them an outline of what we're going to be covering during the year. So you can see for writing, it's very simple. I can write numbers, I can copy from the board, I can circle or tick objects. And during the year, we look at it and they tell me, I need help with this, or I can do this. Yes, I've just seen Letitia's. Okay, great. Also, you can actually download this for free on the Cambridge Assessment website, a progress chart, which is another way for learners to evaluate the work that they do. I'm not sure if any of you were in Anne's session on Tuesday where she showed you the vocabulary, the the word list picture books, which you can download and use. There are activities for each of these picture books or each of the activities within the picture books. And as learners do them, they can colour in a star to show that they've completed it. If you don't want to keep it as an individual, you want to make it more of a group activity. Yep. Melinda uses these and they love the stars. That's great, Melinda. Thanks for letting us know. You can also have it as a class progress chart, and you can keep it on the wall in the classroom. And as you do activities, everyone can colour in. We'll send it definitely. Okay. Idea number 3. When we begin a unit, we would normally get our students to think about what they already know. So within our beach theme, we're going to brainstorm something quickly. All right. Obviously, with a distance classroom, we can't do the lovely mind maps with lots and lots of words or write lists together, but we can still brainstorm what we know. And I'm just going to give you this quick activity in the chat. 5 things we do at the beach. Swim, sunbathe, build a sand, play, eat ice cream. I saw that. Play volleyball. Oh, this is going really fast. Make a sandcastle, walk. Yes. Great. Another one. 5 games that need a ball. Drink lemonade. Yum. Soccer, tennis, volleyball, tennis, volleyball, rugby. Yes. On the beach, a bit tough. Basketball, cricket. Great. What about 5 things that are green? Leaf, grass, algae. Great for the beach. Yes. Lettuce, shamrock. Oh, lovely. Broccoli, frogs, grasshopper, cucumber, avocado. Wow. 5 things that can swim. Crocodile, shark, dolphin, fish, penguin, crab. Can crabs swim? Fish, plastic bottles. Yes, oh, that's sad, isn't it? Polar bears, ducks, whales. Okay, you're definitely beyond the starters word list. Jellyfish. That's a starters word, isn't it? Birds, frog. Great. 5 things we eat in summer. Ice cream. Is that all we eat? Ice cream and watermelon, watermelon, ice cream, watermelon, watermelon, ice cream, soda, cake. Yes. Ice cream cake is even better second. Lemonade, popsicles, cake. You're tricking me here. Yeah, of course we eat cake. We eat cake all the time. It's not just limited to summer. Cherries. Yeah, cherries. Can't wait for them to come out. Barbecue. Great. When we move between units or when we move between lessons, another great self-reflection activity is for learners to just take a few minutes to finish some sentences. So thinking about what you've learned about self-evaluation today, maybe at the end, you could finish it off with, I like, I can, and when you're happy. Introducing units are, obviously we have brainstorming, we have reflecting on what we can do and what we like to do. We can also use these great little animations that are in Fun Skills. This is Himi and this is Unit 6. Let me just stop my share for a second. Okay, the learners are they're at the middle of the book. So Himi, to start or to introduce the unit, gets them to reflect on halves, and then she does a rap with them, which acts as a lead in to the foresty, jungly theme of the unit. I want you to listen, and if you like, you can join in the rap.
Unit 6, and look, you're halfway through your book. What's half of 50? How many centimetres in half a metre? What's half of 1,000? How many minutes in half an hour? What's half of half?
It's a lot to think about.
Rap with me! I found fantastic footprints in the forest, but I was followed by a very friendly frog. I found fantastic footprints in the forest, but I was followed by a very friendly frog.
Okay, so the rap is actually also quite a complicated tongue twister, focusing on the f sound. Yeah, it definitely grabs people's attention. It also is a nice way to get into the unit. Same thing for when we finish a unit. A lot of the activities that we've done, so reflecting on what you can do and what you like to do, are also a great way to finish up a unit. And I'm just going to show you another little animation from Fun Skills. This comes at the end of the unit and reflects on, well, I'll let you watch it, and I'd like you to tell me what focus did the unit have? Okay, what was the topic of the unit?
Oh.
Oops. Stop.
Can you make the names of 2 birds from the letters on the screen?
Put them in the chat if you know. Eagles. Good. Eagles and swan. Great. Very good, everyone.
Hello! So, you know about food chains now? Can you put this food chain in order? Eagle, insect, rat, frog.
Can you?
So a frog eats an insect, a rat eats the frog, and an eagle eats the rat. How about this one?
There's another
Bee, lizard, snake, spider. So, a spider eats a bee, a lizard eats the spider, and a snake eats the lizard.
Okay, so the idea being that they're reflecting on learning in quite an engaging way. How did you feel when you were doing the activity? Yep, it's fun. Okay, and because we do it as a group, you know, learners are simply reflecting on what they know and perhaps what they might want to look at on their own. Yeah, and it's good for language retention. Yep. Yep. Trying to say it out loud. Yeah, it gets you really thinking, doesn't it? So the topic of the unit, a few of you wrote it. Yeah, wildlife, so animals. Yeah, and then obviously because this is Fun Skill 6, it's the higher or the highest level. It has some really good, interesting, and quite challenging language, but necessary, particularly if you want them to do flyers. Okay, so we've looked at beginning and ending units. We also can think about reflecting on when we do test practice activities, when we do a test. We're going to look at a movers speaking to activity. This is something that you can download again from the assessment website. They're practice speaking tests. And this is one of the stories that we ask the learners to tell us in part 2 of the speaking test. So to begin, the examiner would tell the first part of the story. So it's a windy day. Mum, Charlie and Jack are going to the cinema. Mum is giving Jack the tickets. Okay, now you are my students and I need you to help me tell the rest of the story. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to show you a picture and I'd like you to write 1 or 2 sentences in the chat that describe what's happening. What are Charlie and Jack doing? Where are the tickets? What is Mum doing? Yep, they're playing with the leaves. Yep, Charlie and Jack are playing with the leaves. Mum's buying ice cream. They're playing with the leaves and the tickets. Good. Great. Yeah, the tickets are they're flying away, aren't they? Anyway, so the next part of the story, again, 1 or 2 simple sentences. Yes. What is Mum saying? Is Mum happy? I can see, Mum's mad. Yep. And the boys, how do they feel? Mum's upset. Mum's angry, saying, where are the tickets? And they're feeling a bit sad. You won't get your ice cream until, that's great. It went way too fast. You won't get your ice cream until I get those tickets. So what happens next? What are the tickets doing? The wind is very kind to them. Yeah, yes, the tickets are flying back to them. The wind brings back the tickets. Tickets found them. And Mum, how does Mum feel? Yes, Mum is surprised. Shocked, really. Yes, I think we all are. Did you expect that ending? Okay, so there was quite a lot of language in this test activity, quite a lot of verb tense or verbs in the story. What tense was frequently used? indeed, the present continuous. Good, very good. So when we're preparing our learners, we can use can-do statements. We can also have this as a class poster. And when we are practicing and using language and we think we are achieving it well, we can get our learners to circle or to tick. These are lovely because they've actually got pictures to go with them. And if we look at movers, the activity that we just did, and you produced some really lovely language to go with it, which can-do statement does it match? Good. Yeah, very good, Virginia. Yes, give simple descriptions of objects, pictures, and actions. So by doing the activity and then focusing on the can-do statements, we're helping our learners to see that they can do the tests because they're not very different from the activities that they're actually doing in class with us. Okay. So let's just think about what we've covered this morning, this afternoon, sorry. We encourage self-evaluation when we approach tasks, when we do tasks, when we begin a unit, when we finish a unit, and when we do YLE test practice activities in the classroom. And for primary learners in particular, it can lead to personal growth and awareness of their learning, and it can help learners to realize how well they're doing and also provide opportunities for them to ask for help. I'll leave you with a thought from John Dewey. He's the founder of, or thought to be the founder of reflection as it relates to personal learning, but I've adapted it for this webinar. We do not learn from experience, we learn from reflecting on experience. And that reflection involves self-evaluation. Thank you. All right, please do put any questions that you have in the Q&A box, and I will pass you over to Stuart for a minute, and I'll be back.
Great. I think I'm on. Thank you, Jane. Thanks for some really lovely ideas. There's been lots of interaction in the chat boxes. You've been going through those today, so that's good news. I think that's really useful for everybody. Great to see the 5 ideas, but I think there was more than 5 ideas really, right? So as Jane said, if you could put any questions that you have for us or for Jane in particular about today's session into the question and answer box, and we will come back to those in a few moments, and Jane will also rejoin us to answer any questions that you may have. So stick around, and that's your chance to chat further with Jane. In the meantime, while people are sort of formulating their questions, I hope, just allow me a few minutes to talk to you about some of the materials that you've seen with Jane today, and some of the sort of other resources we've got for you around teaching young learners. So Jane's referred to a few times in her presentation today the Fun Skills series. This is an exam preparation series, as you can see, for young learners, 6 levels. They're really dedicated to children preparing for the pre-A1 starters, the A1 movers, and the A2 flyers series of Cambridge English qualifications. They're a great add-on. They're quite intensive books, as in they're quite short courses. So each book can easily be used alongside a regular English primary book, or it could be used in an extracurricular classroom, for example, a summer course. Depends where you are and how you want to use it. And it doesn't have to be just for exam preparation. It follows the exam syllabus, it includes exam preparation tasks, but that will also put your students in a very good position with their general English development as well. And what's important is the types of tasks. They're very skills-based, topic-led lessons, and they really encourage that sort of participation between the kids. So in terms of creative thinking and collaboration, communication, and so on. And loads of nice animations and these great characters that you've seen examples of today. So if you're interested, do have a look. Becky's put some links for you already into the chat box. I can see is that, I'm just trying to read there. My glasses aren't strong enough today. Is that Ice says, I love them. So thank you very much. And connected to Fun Skills is the mini trainer series. So if you're familiar with our trainers for exam preparation, the mini trainers are for the young learner examinations, and they are 2 tests, 2 complete tests with lots of guidance around the first test in particular, including, as Jane showed you already, these really great QR codes that help parents to help their children understand what's required of each exam task. So these are great if you have, for example, a home connection with your parents and they're not quite sure how to explain the exam tasks, or you can even use these in the classroom, of course, as Jane showed you today. And then the final thing to show you is the World of Fun resource site. I don't know if you're already familiar with World of Fun. We are updating it, and we do try and keep it updated as often as possible. You'll see quite a lot of new stuff going up there in the next few weeks, including on the left-hand side, some new additions to this new set of worksheets. These are worksheets designed for vocabulary and a bit of grammar for kids. And what's great about them is they introduce each of the characters from the Fun Skills series, but you don't have to be using Fun Skills to use the worksheets. It's just great practice for movers, for starters, for flyers. On the right-hand side, you can see our classroom posters. That's not the only posters we have. We have lots of different posters on World of Fun. And of course, as you probably know, we also have posters on our Cambridge Assessment English site and our, as well as other places. And in the middle of the screen there, you can probably see that's an example from World of Fun of all the other resources that you can download, including previous webinars, videos, stories, articles, flashcards. So really worth a look if you don't already know it. And then just the final thing to mention before we invite Jane back for questions is that this is one episode of a series, as I'm sure you know if you've registered for this one. So do try and join us again next Tuesday. We have 2 times. So I'm in Madrid, Jane's in Italy today. We have 10 o'clock in the morning for our time in Central Europe, or 4 p.m. in the afternoon for Central European time. So wherever you are, that could be early morning, mid-morning, afternoon, late afternoon, evening. Come and join us. So Anne's with us next Tuesday, and then Jane, you're back again, aren't you?
Yes.
A couple of times, I think. I can't remember when off the top of my head, but
not till May, but yeah.
Not till May.
Not till May.
From Jane. So keep an eye. Go to the link. It's just gone in the chat box. You can see all of the schedule, all of the speakers, all of the series. You can register for any ones that interest you, and of course, you can go back and watch all of these in the future. You can remind yourself of what a great webinar you saw on the 22nd of April 2021. Right. So let's go back to Jane now. And any questions? I haven't had a chance to look, Jane, so I'm just going to put up the question box here. We've got a few parts.
We've got a few. Yep.
Have you, Go ahead if there are any you want to pick out immediately.
Rabia, I hope that I have pronounced your name correctly. I apologize if I haven't. How can we be sure that our students really got the subject if they're so shy? Well, I think that with these self-evaluation strategies, so coloring and just writing by themselves, or using non-verbal with if you're using, for example, cups or indicators like that to see how your students are coping, you're probably likely to get more of a response than you would be to ask them to write. Yep. Or speak on their own if they're extremely shy. So using non-verbal pictures, colours, and a little bit of writing will probably help them. I hope that helps.
Sure.
Gareth has a similar question.
Didn't Gareth win the cake thing earlier?
Gareth is the cake, yep.
Oh, we sending a cake to Gareth.
But didn't you tell him what the prize was? Was it one
No,
day
nothing.
when he eventually meets me, he'll have to buy me a cake?
Okay, that was the prize. Yes,
That
sorry,
was the
Gareth.
prize. Yeah. Okay, so if you've got a class of young learners that are too confident or not confident enough, how would you get valid data for self-evaluation? Well, self-evaluation takes time. It's learner training, and only by doing it consistently would you be able to get valid data. Whether a student is confident or not confident isn't important. What is important is that we are giving them the tools to reflect on their learning. Okay. And Shri Sianti, again, I apologize if I haven't pronounced your name correctly. For finishing the unit, how will you ask the students to give reflection if they're still learning to read? Well, that's a really good point. And I think if you look at the last set of can-do statements, there are illustrations to go with it. But yes, that is a really good point. For the lower levels, where they're learning to read or write, you can't.
Yeah. Okay, I'm just looking at one here. It's probably more for me, which is I say, is that? Apologies again. My pronunciation of your name is probably awful, but how can we adapt these books for online lessons? I mean, that's the thing for all of us at the moment, and maybe some of you were with us last year when Jane joined me and Anne, and we did lots of online sort of tips and ideas for teaching young learners. We do actually have a guide for remote learning for fun skills, which I'm about to put into the chat box right now. There we go. You can have a look at that. You can access it online and download it. It can't possibly answer all of your questions, but it certainly is a good place to start with lots of tips and ideas for how to do certain types of activities if you are teaching remotely or in an online situation and continuing to do so at the moment. Okay. Alternatively, you could also go to find us on the YouTube channel, Cambridge University Press, and look out for the home fun webinars from last year. And you can catch up. Jane's laughing there. You can see what Jane looked like a year ago.
Yep, I've had shorter hair. Still haven't got to the hairdresser.
Okay, so lots of places for you to go and find out stuff there. So good question. Jane, is there any other that you spotted or?
Well, Maura has asked about the approach for kids who have special needs, such as dyslexia. A reason for including my post-it note task, I use that with my learners who do have dyslexia, so that I'm supporting their learning. They know what they need to do with, rather than having to look up at the board and then look back down. That is a whole other webinar, but I do believe that in World of Fun, there are quite a lot of resources for teaching.
Yeah, well, one in particular, there's actually, and forgive me, I can't remember the person who contributed for us, but one of, quite a leading expert in dyslexia did actually write a whole article for us about teaching younger learners with dyslexia. You can find that article on World of Fun. You can find various stories from our other publications, such as Story Fun, which have been adapted for people with dyslexia. And I believe Fun Skills as well was very much designed from the ground up with one of the learning needs in mind.
Exactly.
So things like I believe the layout, coloured backgrounds, and so on, right?
Yep.
So there is a lot of stuff on World of Fun. Do have a look for it. It's a bit difficult to find it all. I can't send you a direct link, but if you go to the link I just put in the box, I'll do it once more, just in case you missed it. Have a look. You'll see an article for stories for learners with dyslexia, something like that.
I was just going to add to that Cambridge Assessment English have also published a guide, which if you're preparing learners for young learners, starters, movers and flyers, there's a guide for teaching and preparing them on the assessment website as well.
Great.
Gareth is back. Gareth, yes. What if there are external pressures like parents, everything? Okay, I think with parents, if we share, for example, I share what we're going to be doing for the year with them. I think it's more about parents' expectations. If they're not doing a lot, if they're only doing a few hours at school and maybe a few extra hours with you, we can't expect them to be bilingual. And it's important that parents realize that it's communicating what your plans are and being realistic about it. The final question: should self-evaluation be present in every lesson? I think so. It doesn't have to be. It doesn't have to be complicated. It could be something very, very simple as asking your learners to write down 5 new words that they learned today, or draw 5 new words that they learned today. It could be reflecting on whether they liked or disliked an activity. But I think it's important that we do constantly reflect on our learning. Yes.
Great. That looks like it's all the questions. I've been checking the chat. Lots of thank yous, lots of thank you very muches, lots of thank you, very useful ideas. Lots of thank you very much. You guys have been very helpful. Thanks a lot. Thanks.
Cake.
Thanks a lot. Very useful. Cake. So lots of nice feedback coming in. No more particular questions that I can see. I think we've kind of hit them all for the day. So it just remains to say, well, big thank you to you, Jane. And of course, we'll be back here doing this in early May, I think. Don't forget to join us next week with Anne on Tuesday, Anne Robinson. And thank all of you, wherever you are, for coming at whatever time of day it is, wherever you are, and joining us. It's really nice to see lots of people here from such a mix of different places as well. So I hope this was useful. I think you've got lots of takeaway ideas. And Jane, until next time, thank you very much.
Thank you, everyone.
Bye-bye.
Bye.